areas in our country, especially in urban areas, have the areas normally referred to as informal settlements. Some people call them slums, others we say low-income areas, or the urban poor in general. Before, they were nowhere in the map, so they had not been recognized because people were just doing service provision in the formally planned areas. These areas where people settle are unplanned, so the service providers assume they do not exist, but they do, and they have a right to service just like everybody else. As the Constitution says, everybody has a right to that water service. I think that is what has guided the master planning for water in this country.
The institutional setup of the Kenyan water sector is headed by the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, which is responsible for the formulation of relevant policies. Below the policy level, there is an institutional division between water resources management and water and sanitation services. On national level, water and sanitation services are regulated by the Water Service Regulatory Board, WASREB. Registered and licensed water service providers, or WSPs, are responsible for providing water and sanitation services to the population. The water users are represented by water consumer groups or water action groups. The Water Sector Trust Fund is the pro-poor financing institution of the Kenyan water sector with the mandate to fund the development of water and sanitation services in marginalized areas.
Most important for my job is to ensure that we have equitable distribution of access to water and sanitation services.
Regulators all over, if you look at their functions, the first item in their functions is consumer protection. Now, as a regulator, you have to set the framework for service provision and make sure that you are enforcing the rules and regulations within that sector.
For us, our niche where we contribute to the Vision 2030 is the pro-poor aspect, the marginalized, the underserved. We are going for the last mile to make sure that they are also not left out. Water Sector Trust Fund implements through water service providers because of a couple of issues. Number one, they have the mandate to actually implement. They are also owned by the county government, and we have a couple of water companies, up to 110 of them throughout the country. They have the capacity, they have the governance system in place.
We have a population of about 500,000 people in the area we serve. 200,000 people live in the 42 low-income areas, and those account for 40% of our customer base. When you have 40% of your customer base living in low-income areas, it's an important and a big proportion of your customer base, and therefore they need special care.
My role is first as a link between the WSP, that is the company, and the people in the low-income areas. Through Water Services Trust Fund, we have been able to do networks in some of our low-income areas to make sure that people get access to water. We work very closely with the Public Health Department, and we have realized that through the support that we've gotten from Water Services Trust Fund to extend our services in the low-income areas, reduction of diseases has been realized. Sanitation, hygiene generally, that is something that we are proud of.
Accurate and detailed information is crucial for the management of any scaling up process. Tailor-made information systems on water and sanitation access allow investment planners, operators, and regulatory authorities to prioritize, implement, and monitor their interventions.
Urban investment program, we have three main systems: MajiData, Surface App, and UPCIS, Urban Project Cycle Information Systems. MajiData is an online information database of low-income areas. It was created after a baseline survey in more than 2,000 low-income areas. The stakeholders utilize it to make informed decisions about where to invest, what kind of infrastructures would be required, and the number of beneficiaries so that we can identify the per capita of the investment. Surface is a data collection tool for monitoring household sanitation in the low-income urban areas. It was developed under the APSAP program, upscaling basic sanitation for the urban poor. This tool is used to monitor information on a real-time basis. Water utilities on the ground are capturing information as the project is being implemented so as to determine the impact of our projects. UPCIS is both a data collection tool and a database. The server is based at the headquarters, unlike MajiData and SurfaceUp, which are online. This tool is in-house and is used daily to store project information such as proposals of the water utilities, appraisal data, funding requirements, and the number of beneficiaries. All this project information is captured and analyzed to ensure that our projects are sustainable and serving the right beneficiaries, thus improving the situation in the low-income areas, be it water supply or sanitation, which is the core mandate of the fund.
Despite increasing investments in the water and sanitation sector, the number of underserved residents in Kenya is increasing steadily. Mobilizing more funding remains a challenge for the sector, though it could be argued that finding better strategies to use and allocate available funding is even more important.
The urban project cycle is the approach that the urban investment program uses for the funding of the water and sanitation services in the urban areas.
WSTF has developed standard projects for water improvement measures in urban low-income areas such as network extensions, yard taps, public toilets, or kiosk construction. As part of this standardization of projects, WSTF has developed comprehensive toolkits that guide the water service providers through the application and project implementation processes. WSTF launches a call for proposals. Registered water service providers apply for funding to implement a selection of these measures in low-income areas within their service area. Successful proposals then receive funding and technical implementation assistance from WSTF, and the water service providers implement the investments. WSTF monitors the investments beyond the completion of the measures and continuously updates the tools and procedures based on the lessons learned.
GIZ works on behalf of the German government on improving the living conditions of people in low-income urban areas in Kenya. And we focus thereby on improving water services and also sanitation services. Working with the Water Sector Trust Fund for us means that we can actually influence improvement of water supply and sanitation services countrywide. The Trust Fund's share of the overall investment in the water sector in recent years was less than 10%. At the same time, we estimate that the investments of the Water Sector Trust Fund contributed approximately 40% to the overall increase in access to water supply and sanitation in Kenya. The Trust Fund projects in urban low-income areas primarily target the so-called last-mile infrastructure. This means these are projects which directly benefit the poor population.
So far, we've been able to fund 284 projects, of which 236 are water projects and 48 are sanitation projects, which have we've been able to reach like 1.5 million people. The Water Sector Trust Fund has been able to fund water kiosks, yard taps, meters, water meters. We've also funded the pipeline networks and storage tanks.
For Machakos Water and Storage Company, we do serve the low-income areas, especially via water kiosks. And the reason we use water kiosks is we have different kinds of customers. Their income is different, and these people are hardly able to afford an individual connection. So what we normally do, we do a water connection via water kiosk, which is a water sell point, whereby they can purchase water that they trust, the quality is known, the source can also be ascertained, and to avoid issues to do with the exploitation of the private water vendors who normally charge high rates. Due to affordability of an individual connection, we use the water kiosk as an intermediate way to ensure that eventually they get an individual connection. To enforce these regulated tariff, we do frequent monitoring to the various water kiosks to ensure that they charge what is within the law.
Kidingwa wasako minaile. Ndio tambia utaba lakini zote hizi nete viete basio. Aite uasiana nacho atika buangwa nacho.
In order to provide a clean and healthy environment and to break the cycle of disease, the sanitation intervention must consider the entire sanitation service chain from toilet to treatment. Their activities include promoting and supporting the construction of public and household toilets and offering decentralized treatment facilities for safe disposal of the wastewater and fecal sludge.
Niliujua wakati mkutano uliitwa na wakuu wa maji. Na nikasemekana yule angependa ajiandikishe, nikaamua kama ningejenga hii inaweza kufa, na inaonekana kweli ni safi kushinda hii.
Nyeri Water and Sewerage Company has contracted Senders Nyeri Self-Help Group to operate or to manage operations at Whispers Park Sanitation Facility. On average, we get around 500 to 600 plus visitors to the facility on a daily basis. Just for 10 shillings, one is provided for with tissue and a clean place to help themselves. So it's been of help to the community.
I operate a licensed exhaust truck. With so many constructed toilets, my business is doing good. And now I have a nearby place to empty the sewage, so I don't have to travel for many kilometers.
The DTF is to treat wastewater from the septic tanks and also the latrines. And the greatest thing is, of course, for us as a utility, as a water company, is that we have our mandate. At least we can now say we have a facility where we ensure that the wastewater is treated and the effluent released out into the environment is of the required standards.